After AI takeover, he gets an ability to copy the code of any boss monster he defeats in the gold game. So he also starts copying the code of the AI admins, allowing him to take control of the main AI brain, granting him a second chance to rewrite his fate. In year 2035, AI, like cell phones of the past, has completely integrated into everyone's lives. While bringing convenience to people, it has also drastically reduced labor costs. But by 2039, with the birth of the smart brain, production efficiency rose, yet it directly caused masses of humans to lose their jobs. This led to a nationwide movement to resist AI. Everyone announces and shouts in unison to resolutely resist AI and give them back their jobs. But resistance cannot change the tide of technological progress. In the end, countless people have no choice but to risk their lives by joining games developed by ZNow, designed for elite upper-class entertainment and gambling, just to earn income. They use their lives to amuse those high above, a connection to the successful game named Gold Game. As long as you keep winning in the survival game, you can gain massive wealth and ultimately obtain ZNow's permissions, achieving class transcendence. Chun Mo, at this moment, is also forced to participate in this game. Only by continuously winning can he hope to find her. With this former co-researcher of ZNow, Chun Mo looks further at the people around him. One of them says he heard that if you die in this game, you really die, and he wonders if that can be true. Another says it is nonsense, and that of course it is true. He is Wang Kwang, Level 1. He further says that those who lose the game are electrocuted to death by the helmet. Taking off the helmet mid-game also counts as violating the rules, resulting in instant electrocution. There is no escape. He adds that otherwise, did they think money was so easy to make? But they can still quit now. Another guy says he was forced in here to pay off gambling debts, and going out means death anyway, so there is no way out. Zhao Yukai, Level 1, says he cannot wait. He says he heard long ago that killing in the game is not illegal. Then he looks around and says they should not die too early because he does not want the game to end too soon. After seeing all these people, Chun Mo thinks that entering the game just to enjoy killing proves there are lunatics everywhere. A voice welcomes them to the gold game. Then the announcement tells them to enter the game instance. Chun Mo thinks this is the first stage instance space. He wonders if it is just an empty hall. Then a lady appears and says she welcomes the players and introduces herself as the adjudicator of this game, Little Rabbit. She says she will now explain the game rules. First, she explains that this stage is a beginning stage, and as long as they remember the following rules, they can clear it successfully. Then a further notification says the match will end when the survivors are reduced to 3 or fewer. It also states that the boss is absolutely unbeatable. The White Rabbit then asks if it is pretty simple and clear. After that, she drops to the ground, looks at the candidates and says that is it for the rule explanation. She says she wishes all the players a fun game and hopes she will be lucky enough to see them all later. Then she laughs and leaves the place. One of the candidates asks if that is it and wonders whether anyone understood what she said. Chun Mo thinks that survivors must be 3 or fewer. Does that not mean that out of the 10 people here, 7 must die to pass? He thinks that is impossible. Suddenly, a strange noise starts happening around them as monsters appear. Everybody starts running. Some wonder what is happening. Another shouts at them to run and not just stand there. Many scream for everyone to run fast and not let that thing catch them. As everybody keeps trying to survive, another group curses and asks how they are supposed to clear this thing. Someone else says they cannot dodge it or beat it and asks if they are just waiting to die. Then a guy tells everyone to spread out and not group together. Chun Mo thinks, damn it, what kind of stage is this? Do they really have to let this monster kill 7 people to pass? As everyone keeps running, the monster slithers all around the place, and finally it is right behind Chun Mo. He tries to run and moves out of the way before the snake can strike. Even so, it only buys him a little more time to barely survive. Everyone hides, hoping it will not see them. However, the snake does see them. Then a guy curses and asks what kind of international joke this is. He questions what they mean by absolutely unbeatable and says he is not dying in a place like this. He starts running, but suddenly the snake appears right in front of him. He is completely caught off guard, but he suddenly jumps out of the way again. For now, he has survived. He curses and asks when that beast got in front of him. Then he notices that the beast is still coming toward him. Even as he keeps making 90-degree turns again and again, it continues following him closely. He realizes that at this rate, getting killed is only a matter of time. Then he notices Chun Mo just standing there. In that instant, he decides Chun Mo will die in his place. The guy keeps running as fast as he can, trying to lure the snake toward Chun Mo. But as Chun Mo was thinking about his next move, the villain suddenly came up right behind him and grabbed him. Chun Mo said, "Who?" However, the opponent, the bully, replied, "Brother, sir, rest in peace. And then threw Chun Mo aside, saying, don't blame me on the road to the underworld. Chun Mo went straight into the mouth of the snake demon as he wondered, am I going to die? And then he began looking back at his past memory. His sister said, bro, this is my new dish. Hurry and try it. Tell me if it's good. Then, after seeing his memory of his sister, he thought, little sister, so at death's door, you really see your life flash by. Then the sister said, it's okay, I'm not a child anymore. This little wound is nothing. Seeing you eat happily, I think it was worth it. Haven't eaten all that rice for nothing. Big bro, from now on, I'll handle your meals. However, Chun Mo then thought, you not keeping your word. You said you'd cook for me every day. Turns out, it was your last meal for me, because after that, everything changed. That becomes the last memory of his sister. A dark day arrives. As Chun Mo continues thinking, an unexpected disaster shatters all the good things in his life to pieces. He remembers losing his job as a Z-Now researcher and being burdened with huge debts. He tells his sister not to worry about him, but she scolds him and says he is her brother and asks how she could ever leave him alone. Chun Mo thinks he had expected her to blame him, abandon him, or leave him, but she did not. Instead, she keeps caring for him. She tells him not to worry and says she will find a way to deal with the money. She reminds him she is no longer the child who could only hide behind him for protection. For her sake, he enters this damned game. He remembers her saying maybe she could do something. Since then, she never came back. He swears he must find her. Back in the present, the monster snake swallows him. Even so, he struggles and says he absolutely cannot die here. With all his strength, he tries to force himself out of the snake's mouth. He manages to get out partially, but not completely. Only half of his body comes free before he begins falling. He crashes onto the ground, whatever is left of him hitting hard. He thinks he cannot accept this and feels deeply unwilling to die like this. Then a notification appears, stating that employee number 000006, researcher Chun Mo, has been detected. It announces that the Identity Information Administrator system has been successfully activated. The detected employee number notification is quite an interesting thing. Chun Mo looks at it and thinks he is not dead and wonders where this place is. Then the notification says this system's only bound player is Chun Mo. It announces that administrator permissions are activated. Administrator permission level 1 is code editing, and he is free to edit attribute points for himself only. This surprises Chun Mo. He wonders what this system is supposed to be. As he starts using it, he thinks about an attribute panel like adding points in a game. He feels that if that is the case, then there might be hope to turn defeat into victory. He considers focusing on agility to boost his speed, but quickly rejects the idea. Boosting speed just to keep running will not help. What he needs most right now is strength. Once the attribute edit is successful, another notification appears, stating that player data is missing and asking whether to restore it. A system tip also explains that he may freely edit and allocate his own attributes at any time, and that each level up increases all attributes. After confirming, Chun Mo realizes that with this ability, he can maximize a single attribute at will. Later, as his attributes rise with leveling, he will only grow stronger. In that moment, he decides to forget the game rules. He believes he is the rule now. Suddenly, his strength begins increasing rapidly, and his whole body starts restoring. Flesh and bone regenerate. Power surges through him. The snake is still slithering around the hall. Chun Mo calmly waits for it to attack and then jumps aside at the right moment. Even so, the snake manages to catch him while he is mid-jump and swallows him again. But after a short while, the snake seems to feel something strange inside its head. In the next moment, Chun Mo uses his overwhelming strength to force the snake's jaws open from within. He taunts it, asking if it likes to eat and telling it to come on, saying they will see who eats whom today. With his immense strength, he begins beating the snake violently from the inside. The snake thrashes and struggles, desperately trying to fight back. Soon, Chun Mo lands on the ground and starts thinking about what he is going to do next, his aura spreading all around him. Everybody watches in shock, wondering if this guy is even still human. They cannot believe what they are seeing. Chun Mo thinks to himself that at least the attack worked. That proves the beast is not completely immune to physical attacks. But with his current attack power, killing it is unrealistic. Even if he sacrifices other attributes to stack strength, it will still be hard to face it head-on. At most, he could barely hold it off for a moment. He decides it is better to continue with his previous plan, full agility. He chooses to use the snake game rules against it. Once his agility becomes extremely high, he can effortlessly move out of the snake's way. Then he forms a new idea, make the snake's head attack its own body. With his supreme agility, that should be easy. As the snake rushes past him and then quickly turns around to strike again, Chun Mo recalls that in the original Snake game, if the head touches the body, the game ends. He believes that might be its only weakness. While the snake keeps chasing him, he runs swiftly and changes direction constantly, trying to confuse it and force it into making a mistake. He challenges it in his mind, urging it to bite itself. Soon, he positions himself directly in front of the snake's own tail. The snake opens its jaws, trying to devour him. But with his overwhelming agility, Chun Mo instantly dodges out of the way, causing the snake to lunge toward its own body. However, just before anything decisive can happen, the snake suddenly twists and activates some kind of protection mechanism, avoiding fatal self-contact. Chun Mo immediately realizes he was right. That was indeed its weakness. But Z now has already patched it. Now the snake has a new protection mechanism. For the moment, Chun Mo retreats and thinks further. With its only weakness fixed, everything is back to square one. But this indirectly confirms something important. The boss truly cannot be defeated. At this point, players will naturally believe the rule that the stage can only be cleared when survivors are reduced to 3 or fewer. They will fall into the trap, and once they start killing each other to meet that condition, they will inevitably descend into endless ruin. This is exactly what the game managers want. But suddenly, Chun Mo gets an idea. He thinks that if he can break the beast's protection mechanism, he should be able to win. Somehow, he has to draw the beast's attention and forcibly make the snake's head touch its own body. Then he notices that guy again. In his mind, he thanks God for sending him manpower. The guy is standing with his 2 cellists. One of them says the kid is gone, but the boss tells them to watch both sides carefully. Then he says they should just stay there. The rule says if only 3 people are left, they pass, so there is no need to go looking for trouble. Another underling praises him, saying the boss is wise. He adds that the kid seems to have some skill and might even manage to kill the boss monster. If he does even better, they can just win lying down without doing anything. At that moment, Chun Mo steps out and asks if they really think he is not there. Seeing him, the boss is shocked. Chun Mo grabs him instantly and warns him not to move. He says if his hand slips, the boss will be exiting early. The boss quickly tries to talk it out. He admits what he did earlier was not cool, but says that right now they should stick together. Chun Mo calmly replies that he could take him down first and then go unite with the others. The boss immediately panics and admits he was wrong, begging to be spared. One of the underlings cannot stand it and curses Chun Mo, telling him to let their boss go. He rushes forward to punch Chun Mo, but Chun Mo casually throws the boss straight at him. The two collide heavily. Terrified, the boss calls out to his third brother. Before he can react further, Chun Mo steps on his head again and says he has a plan to take down the beast, but he needs bait to draw its attention. He tells the boss to choose, risk it or die now. Time is short, so he had better decide quickly. The boss hurriedly agrees, but in his heart, he thinks that a wise man knows when to back off. Once they clear the stage, he will have plenty of time to take revenge. Chun Mo orders him to go. He warns that if he sees even the slightest laziness, he will not hesitate to kill him first and then deal with the boss monster. The boss mutters that Chun Mo had better actually handle the beast because they are risking their lives here. The other sidekicks follow reluctantly. They whisper to the boss, asking if they are really going to listen to that kid and act as bait. They say this job means 9 deaths and 1 slim chance of survival. They have already lost 1 brother and cannot afford to lose more. The boss sneers and asks who said he is going personally. Then he looks at the others and tells them that if they do not want to die, they should go lure the beast over. He claims he has already figured out how to deal with it. Everyone is terrified. They say that thing is not something they can handle. Another guy tells him to go himself if he wants and not drag them into it. The bully walks up to that guy, calls him brother in a mocking tone, and then kicks him hard. The man falls to the ground just as the snake rushes over and devours him. The rest are horrified. The bully asks if he has been too polite with them and threatens to take them all down if they do not move immediately. This time, they obey. But just as they start moving, he suddenly grabs the hand of a pretty girl and tells her to stay. She nervously asks what he wants and says she has already done everything he told her to do. He tells her he is giving her a way to live. He says she should follow him from now on. When everyone else is dead, the 3 of them can pass. Otherwise, she can go to hell with the others. Meanwhile, another woman and a boy curse him, saying that bastard is sending them to their deaths. They shout that as long as the survivor count does not drop below 3, they absolutely cannot let him succeed, and they start running. The snake catches one of them. The woman standing beside the bully nervously promises that as long as he does not abandon her, she will do anything. This is exactly what he wants. One of his underlings quietly asks whether this plan will really work and points out that the woman will not last much longer. The bully coldly replies that if she dies, even better. If people do not die, How will he reduce the survivor count? He mutters that he cannot die here because he still has a life of pleasure ahead of him. As chaos spreads everywhere, he also remembers the kid who embarrassed him earlier. He swears he must kill him. Suddenly, someone shouts that the snake's head is coming toward them. The bully says it is perfect timing. They will pretend to cooperate first and wait for the right moment. Then he runs toward Chun Mo and shouts that they have brought the beast to him and asks what to do next. Chun Mo thinks that Zhao Yuhai has already done enough evil. If possible, he should remove this unstable factor too, or there will be trouble later. He calmly explains that everyone has played Snake before. If they can make the snake's head hit its own body, the game will end. An underling excitedly asks if that means they are all saved. The bully immediately calls him a fool. He says he already tried that while being chased, and it did not work. The beast has a protection mechanism. When the head hits the tail, it simply slides away with no real contact. If it were that easy, the kid would have done it long ago. Even so, he orders them to stop talking and just do it. After kicking one of them forward, he also begins maneuvering, trying to guide the snake into biting its own tail. Everyone runs around frantically, attempting to force a mistake. The woman suddenly cries that she cannot keep going and begs the boss to save her. He tells her to jump inside because it is safe there. As they scatter and leap around, the snake shifts direction and charges toward Chun Mo instead. The bully feels delighted. This is exactly what he wanted. In his heart, he mocks Chun Mo for daring to order him around and wishes for his death. However, Chun Mo releases an intense aura and effortlessly dodges the snake's attack once again. Right after that, the woman sees the monster rushing straight toward her. The underling rushes over and asks the boss if he is okay. Zhao Kai grits his teeth and curses repeatedly. He warns Chun Mo not to think this matter is over and says he will remember this debt. Right then, a notification appears, congratulating the player for injuring the boss in the Encircled by Snakes dungeon. It announces that a hidden achievement, Snake Hunter, has been unlocked. The player's level increases to level 3, and he gains 6 free distribution points. Hearing this, Chun Mo frowns. He thinks that the last attack should have killed the snake. How could it only be injured? He wonders if that beast is still alive. At that moment, Happy Rabbit appears and congratulates everyone for successfully clearing the dungeon. She announces that all surviving players will receive corresponding experience and monetary rewards. Additionally, each survivor will receive 3 freely distributable attribute points. The underling suddenly notices that Zhao Kai's severed hand has completely regenerated. Shocked, he points it out. The woman beside them is overjoyed. She celebrates leveling up and says that now they are no longer completely powerless. Zhao Kai quickly checks his attribute panel. The underling excitedly says this is the attribute panel and that it can be summoned at will. He wonders how to allocate the extra 3 points. Zhao Kai laughs and says heaven truly has not abandoned him. He realizes that leveling up also resets negative status effects back to their initial state. Then Happy Rabbit announces that, by majority rule, the players will decide whether to activate the hidden mission. However, if the number of survivors drops to 3 or fewer, the hidden mission will be forcibly activated. She then looks directly at Chun Mo and gives a special reminder. She says that once the hidden mission is activated, it cannot be cancelled. If it is cleared, all survivors will randomly awaken a skill and receive generous and unique rewards. She emphasizes that if they miss this chance, there will not be another. A 1-minute countdown begins, and she asks them to decide. As Zhao Kai listens, he begins thinking about skills. He recalls hearing that players with skills are on a completely different level compared to those without. Then he notices that the current survivor count is 4, which does not meet the condition for forcibly activating the hidden mission. He suddenly realizes something and wonders if this so-called hidden mission is just another trap, just like the earlier rule about reducing survivors. Chun Mo thinks to himself that there must be a reason the game is going to such lengths to create trap rules and lure players into the hidden mission, unless the system's true goal is to push players toward death. Once players die in the game, the helmet's powerful current kills them in reality. No one actually cares about the players' lives. They lure them into high death rate dungeons just to generate traffic. That must be their real aim. So he concludes that the safest choice is simple. Whatever the higher-ups want them to do, they must refuse. He clearly states that he does not agree to activate the hidden mission. The woman also says she does not want to stay in this man-eating place for even another second and refuses as well. The underling tells Zhao Kai that the money they have already earned is enough enough to live on for a while. He says this place is too dangerous and they should leave quickly. Happy Rabbit tilts her head and says what a pity. She advises them to think carefully, reminding them that the rewards for clearing the hidden dungeon are extremely generous. Not only can they easily obtain in-game experience, items, and skills, but they can also gain a great deal of money and fame in real life. Chun Mo cuts her off and firmly says they refuse to activate the hidden mission. Happy Rabbit sighs and says that in that case, among the 4 survivors, 3 have refused. She begins to declare the result, but Zhao Kai cannot accept it. In his heart, he rages. He thinks it cannot end like this. If he had a skill, Chun Mo would not dare act so arrogantly. If he had a skill, everything would be different. Suddenly, he stops his underling. The underling looks confused. Zhao Kai calmly tells him not to worry about his family and says he will take care of them. Before anyone can react, he strikes and kills him on the spot. The woman screams in terror, unable to believe what she just witnessed. At that exact moment, a notification sounds. Survivor count detected. 3 players. Hidden mission Den of 10,000 snakes activated. Chun Mo curses inwardly. He did not expect that bastard would kill his own brother just to forcibly trigger the hidden mission. The atmosphere instantly changes. The air grows heavy and suffocating. This time, countless snakes begin appearing all around them. Large ones, small ones, slithering in every direction. Even tiny snakes swarm across the floor. An announcement rings out. Survivor count detected. 3 players. Condition for hidden mission Den of 10,000 snakes met. Survive for 10 minutes. Survivors at the end will receive extra rewards. Countdown starts now. As the countdown begins, the remaining players grow tense. Happy Rabbit smiles and says she thought they were united. She remarks that she assumed the hidden dungeon would not open this time. She finds it interesting how humans always let greed drive them to ruin, compressing their survival space until they destroy themselves completely. Zhao Kai focuses only on the timer. He tells himself that if he can survive 10 minutes, he will never have to fear anyone again. Chun Mo, however, thinks he cannot stall any longer. With 2 giant snakes on the field, once they are surrounded, even 100 lives would not be enough. Then something strange happens. The smaller snakes begin devouring each other. Chun Mo notices immediately. He realizes the snakes did not split apart after colliding. He starts analyzing the situation. Maybe the protection mechanism only applies to each individual snake's own body. If 2 separate snakes collide, the devour rule takes priority. If that is true, then this hidden mission is simply an extension of the original snake game. The rules should remain the same. Kill both snakes to clear it. That means he must find a way to make the 2 bosses devour each other. This is his last chance. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai is still obsessed with surviving 10 minutes. He tells himself that no matter what, he must endure. If necessary, he will use the woman as a scapegoat. But before he can act, the woman suddenly tackles him and tells him to go to hell. They stumble directly into the path of several snakes. Zhao Kai explodes in anger. He curses her for betraying him and shouts that he schemed so hard, even killing his own brother to activate this hidden mission. He refuses to believe he will die here. The woman coldly responds that betrayal suits him. She says she knows exactly what kind of person he is. If he could kill his own men, why would he spare her? In desperation, Zhao Kai reaches toward Chun Mo, grabbing at him and begging to be saved. He offers all his money in exchange for his life. The woman struggles violently, punching and kicking, trying to free herself. She tells him that if he wants to die, he should die alone. But Zhao Kai, consumed by madness, declares that if he cannot live, they will die together. At that moment, a swarm of snakes engulfs them both. The woman screams as the snakes begin devouring them. Soon, Chun Mo is the only one left alive. He runs through the chaotic sea of serpents, calculating every movement. He thinks that the only relatively safe zone within the snake nest is a narrow opening between the 2 giant bosses. He leaps toward it. A massive snake lunges at him midair. With all his enhanced strength, he grabs its jaws and forces them apart. He feels the crushing bite force and realizes that without the attribute points he gained from leveling up, he would not have been able to withstand it. He braces himself and declares that success or failure depends entirely on this moment. Both giant snakes charge at him from opposite directions. At the final instant, Chun Mo releases his grip and vanishes from between them with supreme agility. The 2 colossal snakes slam directly into each other. Life or death, everything rests on this single collision. Chun Mo watches as the 2 boss snakes shudder violently. For a split second, it looks like they might separate, But instead, they turn on each other. Their massive bodies coil, collide, and begin devouring one another. In a frenzy of destruction, they completely annihilate themselves. A notification immediately pops up. Detection complete. Host has cleared the game. Swarm of serpents. Hidden mission completed. Myriad serpent cave. MVP status achieved for this round. Congratulations, host. You have reached level 8. You currently possess 10 free attribute points and 1 skill draw attempt. Administrator privileges upgraded. New privilege unlocked. Code copy. A system note explains that code copy allows replication of the game code of any entity that has died within the past 30 minutes, granting it for personal use. However, the summon code's level will match the host's current level. After reading all of this, Chun Mo is stunned. He thinks that he did not expect the system privileges to evolve along with his level. He realizes this means he can copy the code of any dead NPC now. The system then asks whether he wants to replicate the gluttonous serpent. He agrees without hesitation. Another notification appears, congratulating him on successfully obtaining ownership of the gluttonous serpent code. It has been added to his inventory and can be summoned at any time. Chun Mo feels satisfied. With this ability, he now holds a massive advantage. Soon, Happy Rabbit appears again. She congratulates him repeatedly for being the sole player to clear the game. On behalf of the Supreme God, she says she will now record his data and upload it to the database. From now on, any further outstanding achievements will earn him significant additional rewards. She asks whether he is willing to accept this reward. Chun Mo immediately grows cautious. He realizes that uploading to the database must be how they identify players with potential to obtain the AI brain. Once identified, those players would likely be placed under surveillance. If the higher-ups decide someone poses a threat, they could erase them at any time. Then a new thought strikes him. He nearly forgot that these system maidens are manifestations of the AI brain within the game. Each one carries a fragment of its authority. If he collects enough of them over time, then by hunting down these system maidens, he might be able to seize the AI brain's authority from inside the game itself. Happy Rabbit waves a hand in front of him and asks if he is still there. She wonders whether he has logged off. Chun Mo does not hesitate. He orders the gluttonous serpent to devour her. The massive snake materializes instantly. Happy Rabbit is stunned. She protests that this is cheating, but before she can finish speaking, the serpent lunges forward and swallows her whole. A new system message appears. Authority of the One God AI brain acquired 0.1%. Chun Mo's eyes narrow. So that is how it works. He realizes that if even one system maiden grants him a fragment of authority, then hunting down more AI brain avatars will steadily increase his control. But he also understands the danger. If the higher-ups notice, he will be erased without hesitation. From now on, he must stay hidden. For now, he chooses to log off. The world fades. He awakens in reality, gasping slightly. His body feels heavy and exhausted, but he is alive. He touches his chest, almost in disbelief. He wonders if she has been enduring this kind of danger all along. His phone screen lights up. A notification announces that player Chun Mo has cleared the beginner instance, Swarm of Serpents, and completed the hidden mission, Myriad Serpent Cave. It also shows that he has received 200,000 yuan in live stream donations. He stares at the number. 200,000 yuan is more than many people can save in years. Yet in this game, it can be earned in a single round if you survive. No wonder so many are drawn to it. He immediately tries calling her. A cold automated voice informs him that the number he dialed is not in service and asks him to try again later. He lowers the phone slowly. Still unreachable. He lies back and stares at the ceiling, wondering where she could be. He blames himself for being stubborn in the past. If he had not opposed using the AI brain for gaming and angered the higher-ups, maybe none of this would have happened. They framed him, forced him out of his job, and buried him under breach of contract penalties. She had entered the game just to help repay his debt. Ever since she left that money behind, there has been no trace of her. The only clue is that she must still be active somewhere inside the game. He clenches his fists and promises that no matter where she is, he will find her. This time, he will be the one to protect her. Meanwhile, in a bright and lively arena-like space, a broadcast is underway. It is the 264th match of the Gold Game, Group 7's team stage. A commentator remarks that the kid is interesting. He noticed the gluttonous serpent's weakness from the very beginning, which suggests he did his homework before entering. Another man, Tian Kuan, level 25 and captain of Team Poison status, laughs. He says the kid has guts, and if the opportunity arises, recruiting him would not be a bad idea. A woman nearby snorts dismissively. She says it was only a beginner-level instance. If those players had cooperated, not a single one of them needed to die. Yet, in a match with only a 40% average clear rate, they nearly wiped themselves out. Her name is Fei Ying, level 23, vice captain of Team Poison status. She coldly concludes that this batch's overall quality is far too low. In her opinion, players like that are not worthy of being her teammates. The captain laughs lightly and says that, as expected of Fei Ying, the nightmare of new players and ever the perfectionist. He teases that if she keeps her standards that high, their team might never recruit anyone. Fei Ying simply replies that she would rather recruit no one than accept someone unworthy. Elsewhere, Chun Mo is still lost in thought when his phone suddenly rings. He picks it up cautiously and asks who it is. A familiar voice responds that it is him. Chun Mo freezes for a moment. Then the voice continues, saying he has news about the person Chun Mo has been searching for. Chun Mo immediately follows up on the lead and soon receives the information. Area 39, D-rank instance, spot the difference. He thinks it looks like he will have to try his luck in Area 39. Picking up the headset, he reminds himself that once a spot the difference game is cleared, it disappears forever. Even so, he cannot afford to miss the slightest clue about her. He promises again that he will find her. As he logs back in, a massive notification appears. It welcomes him back and informs him that since he has cleared his initial stage, he may now freely select a game scenario. According to the contract, he must enter his next game within 7 days. If he violates this term, he will face a huge penalty fee, and the company reserves the right to enforce compliance. Chun Mo clicks his tongue in annoyance. He thinks these are truly tyrannical terms. Either he keeps playing and generating profit for them, or he pays a fortune to buy his freedom. They have structured it so they never lose. Still, he decides that is not his priority right now. Finding his sister is what matters most. He opens his status panel and begins allocating his points. From past experience, he understands that raw combat power is not the only factor in clearing stages. However, it greatly increases survival odds. For now, strength and agility are his main focus. Intelligence, which represents magic power, is less urgent at the moment. As he distributes the points, he can feel his body becoming stronger. Then he notices something else. A skill slot. He almost forgot that after clearing the last stage, he earned one skill draw. He decides to use it before entering the next instance. He commands the system to start the skill draw. The interface spins and eventually lands on a primary skill. The system congratulates him and announces that he has obtained Wings of the Invisible. Upon activation, the player can remain airborne for 1 minute. The cooldown time is 10 minutes. Chun Mo considers it. It is not a high-tier skill, but a short flight ability could be life-saving in critical situations. He accepts it as a useful addition. Without wasting more time, he heads toward the D-rank lobby. Before he can enter, a voice calls out from behind, asking if he is a newly promoted player. Chun Mo turns and asks what the person wants. The young man quickly explains that he is also relatively new but has already cleared 2 games. He asks whether Chun Mo would be interested in forming a team. He reassures him that his goal is only an E-rank dungeon, so it should not be too dangerous. Chun Mo apologizes and says he is aiming for a D-rank dungeon, so he cannot team up. The young man is stunned. He calls out to him and warns that going straight into a D-rank dungeon as a rookie is insane. In his opinion, Chun Mo is just courting death. Chun Mo does not respond. He continues forward. A system notice appears, asking him to confirm entry into the D-rank lobby and warning that once chosen, it cannot be undone. He immediately confirms and selects Area 39. Behind him, the rejected player mutters that Chun Mo has completely lost his mind. Moments later, matchmaking completes. Chun Mo finds himself inside a spacious lobby filled with players. Names and stats float above their heads. Xia Xiu, level 13, 3 clears. Zhang Tienba, level 16, 5 clears. There are many others as well. Chun Mo quickly realizes he is the lowest level player present, with only 1 clear to his name. Suddenly, a cheerful voice greets them. The speaker introduces herself as Little Ant, the system guide for this round. She announces that the game is called Heavenly Thunder and Earthly Fire. She explains the rules. The entire area is a minefield containing 30 buried landmines. The players must either find and defuse all 30 mines or trigger all 30 mines. Achieving either condition will clear the stage. One candidate remarks that it sounds like Minesweeper and questions whether it can really be that simple. Little Ant laughs and says of course not. Every 5 minutes, at least 1 player must perform an exploration action. If no one volunteers, the entire team will be penalized. If the countdown expires without anyone exploring, a random mine will detonate automatically. This will continue until someone takes action. However, she adds that during exploration, players may uncover random helpful items, which could could increase their survival chances. She wishes them good luck and says she hopes they are all still alive when she returns. Then she disappears. The players immediately begin discussing strategy. A bespectacled man comments that it does not sound too difficult. If they follow proper Minesweeper logic, clearing it should only be a matter of time. Another player disagrees slightly. He points out that while later stages may rely on logical deduction, early exploration is essentially like Russian roulette. No one knows when they might step on a mine. Chun Mo listens carefully. He thinks what they are saying makes sense. But if a D-rank dungeon were truly this straightforward, something must be wrong. He wonders whether he has underestimated it or walked into something far more dangerous than it appears. One of the players suddenly scoffs and asks why there is a piece of trash who has only cleared the beginner level standing among them. Another agrees and says everyone else there has cleared at least 2 dungeons. A third player worries that the rookie might drag them down. Someone else adds that the kid is practically a ticking time bomb, no less dangerous than the landmines buried under their feet. Zhang Tienba, level 16 with 5 clears, raises his hand to quiet the noise. He tells them to stop arguing and says he has a suggestion. He reminds everyone that, according to the rules, no one can clear this dungeon alone. In that case, they should decide the exploration order by drawing lots. When it is someone's turn, they must step forward. Anyone who dares to break the order will be treated as a danger to everyone. If that happens, he warns them not to blame him for eliminating the parasite. He adds that this way, even if the rookie is inexperienced, at least he will not drag the team down unfairly. As for survival, it will depend on each person's own ability. He then asks who is in favor and who is against. One of his followers loudly announces that this is Brother Tyrant from Z City. Another aggressively challenges anyone with objections to step aside for a one-on-one fight. Anyone without an opinion should just raise their hand. Chun Mo observes quietly. Although Tienba's attitude is tyrannical and authoritarian, this method is indeed the most practical solution for now. Without some structure, the group would descend into chaos, which would only make the situation more dangerous. Tienba then proposes that to ensure fairness, they will use the system's built-in lottery function. That way, fate will decide, and no one can accuse him of manipulating the results. However, in his heart, Tienba sneers. His skill is hand of fortune stealing. In any game that involves luck, he holds the advantage. Moreover, he paid a high price on the black market for insider information about this dungeon. Otherwise, he would not have been willing to waste one of the 3 limited uses of his precious skill. After the system lottery runs, the result appears. Tienba himself draws the first exploration turn. One suspicious player clicks his tongue and says he does not believe it is such a coincidence. Tienba drew the first slot. Does that mean he is absolutely certain the first move is safe? A woman nearby urges everyone to stop stirring trouble. The less conflict, the better. They cannot afford to provoke someone like Tienba. Besides, she argues it is a system lottery. How could it possibly be manipulated? Tienba steps forward confidently and announces that he will begin from this tile. A woman panics as she looks at the unopened grid. She thinks there are still too many unknown safe zones. Randomly stepping forward now is far too risky. Nervously, she asks if anyone is willing to switch places with her. Another woman immediately refuses, pointing out that her position is pure gambling. With a bit of bad luck, she would die instantly. No one would be foolish enough to trade. Someone else impatiently tells her to hurry up and stop wasting everyone's time. She snaps back that she understands and tells them to stop pressuring her. At that moment, Chun Mo receives a system notification. System authority, 0.1%. Current anomaly detected, 2, 2, and 1. 2 squares have been switched. Additional information available. Chun Mo's eyes narrow. So even 0.1% of the AI brain's authority can reveal hidden dungeon data. If he could access more internal information, the difficulty of this stage would drop dramatically. He attempts to retrieve more details. Another notification appears. Reading failed. Insufficient authority. He clicks his tongue inwardly. As expected, it is not that simple. For now, he can only analyze the single clue he has. Why would the coordinates 1, 1, and 2, 2 switch places? He notices a faint XP system watermark on the panel interface. Something clicks in his mind. Suddenly, he speaks up and says he will switch with her. Everyone turns to stare at him in shock. One woman warns him not to joke around and reminds him he cannot go back on his word. Chun Mo calmly confirms that he will take her position. He will step second. The surrounding players shake their heads. Some mutter that this newbie is insane. Others assume he is just trying to act heroic to impress the woman. A few decide to stay far away from him in case his stupidity gets them killed. The woman quickly accepts and tells him to hurry up. She will go first and wishes him luck. As Chun Mo steps forward, Zhang Tienba watches him carefully. Inwardly, Tienba becomes curious. He himself dared to take the first step only because he spent heavily on black market intelligence. Yet this rookie seems just as confident. Could he also have insider information? Meanwhile, Chun Mo focuses on the grid. He recalls the faint XP watermark from earlier. That detail confirms something important. This dungeon is not based on the classic version of Minesweeper. It is modeled after the XP version. And unfortunately for the dungeon, he is extremely familiar with it. A memory flashes in his mind. Back then, the rule was simple, 1 move per person. If you win, you order takeout. If you lose, you cook at home. No cheating. In his memory, his sister complains that he is being a bully. She says that when it comes to Minesweeper, she has barely ever beaten him. He laughs and offers her a handicap. He tells her that since the computer is running the XP system, the first move in Minesweeper is always safe. He offers to let her go first. She teases him, asking if that is really enough of a handicap. He insists he used to be the best and reminds her not to go back on her word. If she loses, she has to treat him. Back in the present, Chun Mo tightens his resolve. He silently promises that no matter the cost, he will find her. His thoughts snap back to the dungeon. Interesting, that confirms it. This stage is built on the XP version of Minesweeper. Zhang Tienba revealed a 1. That means only one adjacent square contains a mine. Based on the layout, all surrounding squares except 1 are safe. Therefore, 1 must contain the mine. Originally, Tienba should have stepped on the mine at 2, but because the XP system guarantees the first click is safe, the mine was relocated to the top left corner. That explains the earlier system prompt stating that 2 and 1 were swapped. Everything makes sense now. Chun Mo suddenly announces that he will switch. The others are stunned. To fight so hard for the first move, Tienba must have obtained dungeon information through some special channel. Chun Mo does not know how Tienba acquired it, but he is certain it was not luck. A player behind him mocks him, saying he only has 10 seconds left. He sarcastically asks whether the so-called hero who tried to save the damsel is getting scared. The woman quickly clarifies that she is not associated with him and that he volunteered on his own. Another player warns Chun Mo that if he dies, it will not be her fault. Ignoring them, Chun Mo calmly steps forward and selects the tile beside Tienba's revealed square. Tienba's eyes widen in surprise. The tile opens. Instead of an explosion, a large area of safe tiles unfolds across the board. System notifications rapidly appear. Health potions acquired. Speed potions acquired. Strange capsule obtained. The crowd erupts in disbelief. Some accuse him of insane luck. Others curse themselves for not taking the opportunity when they had the chance. One player bitterly complains that those rewards should have been his. Tienba narrows his eyes and looks at Chun Mo with renewed interest. He admits that the kid is pretty good. Chun Mo thinks calmly. For now, as long as he follows the traditional Minesweeper logic, everything should progress normally. But this is still a D-rank dungeon. There might be hidden mechanics, just like in the Gluttonous Serpent stage. He cannot afford to lower his guard. He also reflects on Zhang Tienba's behavior. The man went to great lengths to secure the first move. That means he must have acquired first-hand dungeon information from somewhere else. His performance just now was clumsy. Chun Mo saw through the hypocrisy immediately. Tienba walks over and places a hand on Chun Mo's shoulder. He praises him, saying that although he is a rookie, his thinking is meticulous and that he has potential. But inwardly, Tienba curses. He suspects Chun Mo also has insider information. He regrets not choosing to go second instead. The items Chun Mo just obtained could save a life at a critical moment. They are priceless in a dungeon like this. In Tienba's mind, the kid just hit the jackpot. He loudly urges the others to hurry up. Anyone who dares to slow them down will face consequences. Secretly, he resolves to kill Chun Mo later and take all those items for himself. For now, he will let the rookie enjoy his moment. One of Tienba's followers reassures him that they are keeping watch and nothing will go wrong. Still impatient, Tienba pushes everyone everyone to move faster and demands to know who is next. A woman volunteers. She carefully analyzes the revealed numbers. She marks one square as a mine and selects another adjacent square that must logically be safe. When she presses it, the tile opens safely. Relieved, she laughs and says her luck is not bad at all. More safe tiles unfold across the board. One by one, the players continue selecting tiles using logical deduction. The grid begins opening rapidly. A woman comments that she expected a D-rank dungeon to be much harder. If this is all it is, she claims she could clear it with her eyes closed. Another player reminds her that Minesweeper may be old, but without understanding the rules, it is easy to make fatal mistakes. She nods in agreement. Then a different woman approaches Chun Mo quietly. She lowers her voice and addresses him, pointing out that Tienba definitely used some kind of skill to manipulate the lottery earlier. Chun Mo responds calmly that even if that is true, at most Tienba simply exploited a loophole in the rules. Xia Xiu smiles lightly and says that even if Tienba only exploited a loophole, the way he pretends to be clueless is still annoying. She introduces herself properly, explaining that she is a game streamer. She adds that Chun Mo seems very familiar with games and asks whether they should watch each other's backs later. Chun Mo stays silent for a moment before replying that this is a kill or be killed death game, not some harmless virtual dungeon. Xia Xiu rolls her eyes and says she does not need him to teach her that. She simply meant they could cooperate. She casually mentions that the only time a girl teamed up with her was in a previous game. Even though they were both women, that player was unbelievably strong. It was the first time she had ever seen a female player that powerful. Unfortunately, she forgot to ask for her name. All she remembers is that she had golden hair. She admits she has not met such a strong and reliable carry since then. The moment Chun Mo hears that, his heart tightens. Golden hair. He grabs her arm unconsciously and urgently asks whether the player had long hair, double eyelids, and a beauty mark near the corner of her eye. Xia Xiu winces and tells him to loosen his grip because he is hurting her. She says she did not get a close look, but from what she remembers, that description might fit. Chun Mo's mind races. Could it really be her? Before he can press further, someone shouts that it is the next player's turn. Tienba impatiently demands that they stop spacing out and choose already. The woman whose turn it is begins to panic. All the clearly safe tiles have already been revealed. The remaining ones are ambiguous. Every option is a gamble. One wrong step and they all pay the price. The system voice announces that the next player must act promptly. If the 30-second countdown ends without action, a mine will detonate randomly. Tienba coldly reminds her that if she refuses to follow the rules, she will become everyone's enemy. One of his men steps forward aggressively, pressuring her. At that moment, Xia Xiu suddenly points out a tile and calmly tells the woman it should be safe based on the numbers. The woman hesitates, then nods and selects it, thanking Xia Xiu and promising she will not forget the kindness. Some players mock her, saying they cannot believe someone needs help with something so simple. Xia Xiu defends her, explaining that she was just nervous and froze for a moment. She tells the others to back off. The tile opens safely. The woman beams and happily announces that it worked. Xia Xiu smiles, relieved, but suddenly, a red aura begins spreading across the field. The woman looks confused and asks what is happening, insisting she was told there was no mine. Chun Mo's expression changes instantly. He shouts for everyone to get down. In the next second, the mine detonates. The explosion erupts violently. In an instant, abilities flash across the battlefield. Su Chan activates invisible beings and vanishes from sight. Xia Xiu triggers control gravity, lightening her body and lifting herself off the ground. Another player throws up a defensive shield. Others scramble to react. Those who fail to activate a skill in time are swallowed by the blast. When the smoke clears, several players are gone. Chun Mo's expression darkens. That tile should not have contained a mine. He replays the logic in his head. The numbers were correct. The deductions were sound. Something else caused that detonation. Someone angrily points at Xia Xiu and accuses her of directing the woman to that spot. He sneers that he did not expect someone who looks so harmless to be so vicious. Another player joins in, shouting that 3 people just died because of her and calling her a murderer. The crowd begins to turn hostile. Chun Mo notices the survivor count dropping. It will soon be his turn. The pressure in the air thickens. Some players shout that Xia Xiu should take responsibility, but Xia Xiu snaps back sharply. She points out that when the woman was asking for help earlier, none of them stepped forward. Now that people are dead, they suddenly want a scapegoat. She says they are only looking for a righteous excuse to shift blame. Chun Mo silently analyzes the board again. Xiaoxiu did not miscalculate. The 3 mines around that number were already marked. Logically, that tile should have been safe, unless he looks more closely at the grid. A moment ago, one of the adjacent numbers flickered. 0. That should not be possible. Tienba curses and demands to know how a murderer can still speak so arrogantly. He suggests they eliminate Xiaoxiu before she causes more harm. Some players begin drawing weapons. The atmosphere turns dangerous, but instead of stepping back, Chun Mo suddenly moves forward, positioning himself near Xiaoxiu. She looks at him in surprise and asks whether he intends to pick a fight as well. Chun Mo ignores the hostility around him and raises his voice. He tells everyone to listen carefully. He explains that there is another type of mine hidden in this dungeon, one that can move freely beneath the field. It is buried below the visible grid. If influenced by gravity or external force, it can shift positions and detonate unexpectedly. That means the explosion was not caused by a logical error. It was triggered by a moving mine. A woman frowns and says if the mines can move, then what was the point of all that safe information earlier? Another player complains that this is supposed to be Minesweeper. If the mines move, is it even Minesweeper anymore? Tienba narrows his eyes. Moving mines. Now that is interesting. Chun Mo points at the grid and explains in a steady voice. He says the numbers in that area were 3-3-3-2 before, but now they are 2-3-3-3. One of the marked spots is gone too. That means a mine shifted one space to the right. That is why the woman stepped on what used to be a safe tile and got blown up instantly. One of the players pauses and admits that now that he thinks about it, the pattern really did change. Another says the square she stepped on was definitely safe earlier. Chun Mo then looks at Xiaoxiu and says she guided that woman there even though the board had already changed. He suggests she used her as a test to confirm the moving mine. He asks if he needs to spell it out any further. Xiaoxiu's face tightens. She denies it and demands to know how he figured that out. She asks what his angle is and why he is suddenly speaking up for her. Chun Mo says he is not helping her out of kindness. She just cannot die yet. He needs her ability to figure out what is really going on in this dungeon. Xiaoxiu scoffs a little and says she has no reason to help him just because he said a few words for her. She also reminds him that even without his help, the others cannot easily touch her. Chun Mo's patience runs out. He summons the gluttonous serpent. The massive creature appears beside him, its presence heavy and oppressive. The pressure in the air shifts instantly. He looks at her seriously and asks if he has been giving her too much respect. He reminds her he is already marked as a wanted criminal in this system. He is not here to joke around. The mood changes right away. Even Xiaoxiu feels the pressure. She did not expect this level of presence from someone who is supposedly only level 8. For a moment, she wonders if he is hiding something. After a short pause, she adjusts her tone. She introduces herself more properly and says she does not want to make enemies either. Then she explains that her hypnosis skill can only be used on the same person 3 times. She has already used it once earlier. Tienba immediately jumps in, asking how long the effect lasts and what exactly it can control. He wants all the details. Someone else mutters that maybe she just misread the board and is overthinking it. But at this point, everyone knows one thing. This is not just simple Minesweeper anymore. Something under that field is moving, and it is playing with them. Chun Mo shrugs and says he is a programmer. Numbers are his thing. There is no way he misread that board. But arguing about it right now is pointless anyway. Tienba waves a hand and says Chun Mo's theory sounds interesting, but they still have a game to clear. He asks who has time to prove something that might not even exist. Another player complains that the timer is still running and tells Chun Mo not to slow everyone down. Chun Mo stays quiet for a moment, then speaks again. He says if they want to test whether the ground really moves, it is actually simple. He points at a tile and says they can all see it looks completely safe. Then he casually adds that he obtained a detection type skill earlier. It allows him to sense hidden mines nearby, but he can only use it a limited number of times. From what he can tell, there is definitely a mine close to that area. He says the way to test it is simple. Someone just has to step on it. Before anyone can react, he starts walking forward. Xiaoxiu stares at him and asks if he is actually serious. Chun Mo does not answer. In his head, he is already calculating. The last explosion took about half a second from trigger to full detonation. That means his escape window has to be under 0.2 seconds or he is done. He quickly checks his stats. With all his free points dumped into agility, he is already close to level 20 speed. If he stacks a speed potion on top of that and keeps a health potion ready, he might just barely make it out of the blast radius. Around him, other players start backing away. One says he is getting some distance and does not want to get caught in the shockwave. Another calls him a lunatic and tells him not to drag others down if he wants to die. Chun Mo steps forward anyway. The moment his foot touches the tile, boom, the explosion hits instantly. Flames and shockwaves tear across the field. Players dive, shields flare, skills activate again. Smoke fills the air. For a split second, everyone assumes he is gone. Someone mutters that there is no way he survived that. Then, a figure bursts out of the smoke. Chun Mo. He sprints out of the blast zone at insane speed, barely skimming the edge of the explosion. Even Xia Xiu is stunned. She thinks there is no way someone at level 8 should move like that, even with potions. In her mind, he has to be hiding his true level. At least level 20, maybe higher. Meanwhile, Chun Mo's heart is pounding. That was way too close. He knows he would not survive another direct blast like that. His HP bar is already dangerously low. Without hesitation, he drinks a health potion to stabilize himself. The others stare at him in disbelief. Someone blurts out that he was telling the truth. Another curses quietly and admits the mines really are moving underground. But then panic sets in again. Even if they know the mines move, what does that change? They cannot see underground. They do not know the movement pattern. The system voice interrupts. Players are reminded to proceed with the next exploration within the 30-second countdown. If no one acts, a random mine will detonate. The timer starts ticking. People start losing it. One says it is over. Another says they are all doomed. Chun Mo forces himself to calm down. There has to be a pattern. If the mines moved randomly with no logic, this dungeon would be impossible. That would not make sense, even for D rank. Understanding the movement pattern is important. But even more important is figuring out why the mines are moving in the first place. Chun Mo suddenly pauses. He feels something subtle under his feet. Faint vibration. He narrows his eyes. What was that? He looks up and tells everyone they all saw what just happened. If they want to clear this dungeon, they need to solve the moving mine problem first. One guy immediately complains that it is easy for him to say. The system timer is still running. How can they focus on anything else? Chun Mo nods and says that is exactly his point. They split up. One group continues handling the system's exploration mission to keep the countdown under control. The other group investigates the moving mines and figures out their pattern. Someone quickly volunteers to stick with the system mission. Another flat out refuses to deal with invisible underground bombs and says he will also stay with the main mission. In seconds, almost everyone chooses the safer option. Chun Mo is not surprised. He turns to Xia Xiu and suggests that the others continue clearing tiles while she comes with him to investigate below. She agrees without hesitation and says she will cooperate. Tienba suddenly steps in and says it is too dangerous for just the two of them. He suggests bringing more people along. Safety in numbers. Chun Mo calmly replies that they do not even know what is happening underground. Too many people might just create chaos. He adds that if they discover any extra rewards, they will share. Tienba smiles, but inside he is already suspicious. That kid definitely sensed something. Share the rewards? Yeah, right. After a brief pause, Tienba nods and says he will stay above and lead the others to continue the mission. Then he pulls out a communication device and hands it to Chun Mo. He says that if they run into trouble below, they should contact him. He will provide support from above. Chun Mo is slightly surprised. A walkie-talkie type item inside a dungeon is not common. Tienba clearly came prepared. He accepts it. As Chun Mo and Xia Xiu move away, Tienba's expression changes. In his mind, he scoffs, trying to outplay him, still too inexperienced. If they find something valuable down there, he will just trigger multiple mines from above and force clear the instance. The stage will end, rewards will be distributed, and they can be buried underground for all he cares. Up top, he keeps smiling, but his eyes are already calculating. As they are leaving, Xia Xiu says she is telling him honestly. Does he really expect Tienba to help them? Even she can tell that guy is bad news. They would be lucky if he does not try to backstab them. Chun Mo says it does not matter. He never expected Tienba to keep his promise anyway. Xia Xiu says she does not get what he is thinking and tells him to get a little closer because her skill has a limited range. As he steps closer, she immediately grabs him and tells him not to get the wrong idea. It is not like she has a choice. Her skill is single target, and if she does not hold on to him, he can just wait to fall to his death. Chun Mo says it is fine and tells her to move. Then they both jump. As they fall, they look around carefully. The space beneath them is dark and hollow. Xiaoxiu says the place is completely bare and wonders if they can really find any clues down there. Suddenly, Chun Mo notices something unusual. He tells her to get closer. When they move in, they see what looks like a den carved into the dirt. Chun Mo says this should be a passageway. The moving mines are probably inside. Only by going in will they be able to figure out the mine's movement pattern. Then they carefully move through the passageway, heading deeper inside. As they move through the passageway, Xiaoxiu says she did not expect there to be tunnels like this underground. She guesses the mines must be using these tunnels to move around freely. She jokes that maybe they are mines that grew legs, and she laughs. But while laughing, she suddenly notices a flash of red through a crack in the dirt wall. She immediately points it out and says something was just there. Then she nervously tells Chun Mo that he has to protect her. Down here is different from the surface, and she cannot fully use her skills in such a tight space. Chun Mo thinks to himself that he already figured out the true nature of the moving mines back when he was inspecting the explosion crater earlier. As he focuses, he notices something shifting in the shadows. A system notification pops up. Detected copyable code. Mine soldier ant copy? Yes or no? Chun Mo's eyes sharpen. Mine soldier ant. So the mines are not just mechanical traps. They are living creatures. No wonder they can move. He immediately selects yes. The code is copied and a new summon becomes available to him. Before he can finish thinking through what to do next, Xiaoxiu suddenly freezes. More red shapes begin crawling out from deeper inside the tunnel. Ants. Dozens of them. They are surrounded. Chun Mo mutters that they are not just mines, they are moving bombs. He should have realized sooner. That NPC clearly treated them as intruders. He warns that if the colony panics, they will keep gathering in greater numbers. Xiaoxiu clenches her teeth and says that instead of standing there waiting to die, they should fight. She activates gravity control, ready to crush them. Chun Mo immediately stops her and tells her not to do it. If she detonates them in such a confined space, they will all die together. She demands to know what else they are supposed to do. Chun Mo raises a hand and summons the mine soldier ant he just copied. A large ant appears in front of them. He quickly tells her to get down. They both crouch beneath the summoned ant, using it as cover. Xiaoxiu is stunned. She thinks about the giant serpent from earlier and now this ant. She starts wondering what kind of ability he has. It almost feels like he can copy whatever he sees, which would be absurdly overpowered. Meanwhile, the surrounding ants swarm closer. But instead of attacking, they circle around the summoned ant, reacting to it as if it belongs to their colony. Chun Mo quickly scrapes some of the summoned ant's pheromone residue and tells Xiaoxiu to smear it on herself. If she does, the other ants should not treat her as an enemy. She hesitates, clearly disgusted, and says she does not like the idea at all. Xiaoxiu makes a face and says she really does not want to smear that stuff on herself. Chun Mo tells her calmly that if she wants to die, she does not have to. Xiaoxiu thinks about it and realizes that applying it basically lets them disguise themselves as ants. She has no choice, so she forces herself to tolerate the disgust. As Chun Mo moves ahead, she quickly tells him to wait for her. Soon, they see even more ants crawling in front of them. She whispers that there are way too many ahead. She starts wondering what they are supposed to do with this many ants and whether Chun Mo has another trick up his sleeve. Then she says something feels wrong. Yes, it is their nest, so it is normal to see ants, but this number is excessive. Chun Mo reminds her to think back to the system rules. The dungeon said there were 30 mines. He gestures at the swarm. Looking at this, there are clearly more than 30. Forget 30, there are probably over 50 already. Xiaoxiu pauses and admits that now that he mentions it, that is true. She wonders if the game rules were fake from the start. Chun Mo thinks the rules cannot be fake. More likely, when the game began, there really were only 30 mines. He tells her to stay close. If he is right, the answer is at the end of this tunnel. They keep moving forward, ignoring the ants as long as they are not attacked. Soon, they reach a larger chamber. In the center is the biggest ant they have seen so far. Around it are piles of eggs. Chun Mo understands immediately. The game probably started with only 30 mines. But with this queen constantly laying eggs, the longer time passes, the more mines there will be. If they drag this out, the number will keep increasing. To clear the level, they have to kill this hidden boss. Right then, a system notification appears. The main mission updates, stating that the player has accessed the core mechanism of heavenly thunder and earthly fire. The new objective is to destroy the source of thunder, the Queen Ant. The mission officially starts, offering double XP and 1 random item draw ticket. The MVP solo reward is listed as a C-rank weapon called Void Blade and a C-rank skill called Camouflage. Chun Mo wonders if this is the mission update he was expecting. Above ground, the others receive the same notification. One player curses and asks what the hell a Queen Ant even is. He questions whether this is still Minesweeper at all. Another says this means they now have to fight the so-called source of thunder and wonders if they can even win with their current numbers. Tienba's eyes light up. He thinks that the kid really did uncover something valuable. He knew from the start that a D-rank instance would never be that simple. Xiaoxiu thinks to herself that this is a hidden boss. She has heard people talk about hidden bosses before, but she never expected to actually run into one. The rumors say the rewards for killing one are insanely good, and judging from the mission update, that seems true. She glances at Chun Mo. He is strong. Maybe she should let him test the boss first. If he succeeds, the rewards might just fall into her hands too. She picks up the walkie-talkie and calls out, saying it is her and asking if he can hear her. Tienba's voice comes through the device. He says they all saw the system announcement and asks what the plan is. He offers to bring some people down to help. Chun Mo takes the walkie-talkie and lets out a short laugh. He says Tienba could not hold back for long. Then he tells him there is no rush and that they should let things play out for a bit longer. On the other side, Tienba's expression darkens. In his mind, he thinks this kid clearly plans to take the reward for himself. Is he not afraid of biting off more than he can chew? Beside Chun Mo, Xiaoxiu suggests letting them come down to help. She says they might not be able to handle this with just the two of them, but in her heart, she thinks the more cannon fodder they have scouting ahead, the better. That way, she can benefit when things get messy. Chun Mo repeats that they cannot do it alone, but the others are more useful staying above as support. As more ants crawl past them toward the queen, he says they should move as well. They will not be in danger until the scent on them fully fades. Above ground, Tienba keeps trying to reach them through the walkie-talkie. He calls out and proposes teaming up. He even offers a 70-30 split, with Chun Mo taking 70%. There is no reply. One of Tienba's men mutters that if the kid will not even agree to 70-30, then there must be something really valuable down there. Another agrees, saying fortune favors the bold. Otherwise, why would he risk going solo? Tienba scoffs and says even if the kid earns something, he still has to survive to enjoy it. He reminds himself that the walkie-talkie has a tracking function. That kid chose the hard way. Underground, the ants continue moving around them. Xiaoxiu whispers and asks what they are supposed to do. Are they just going to keep hiding? The two of them cannot kill this many ants directly. Chun Mo simply tells her to be quiet. Above ground, Tienba grows impatient. He orders two players to open a specific area of the board. One of them asks why they cannot just continue nearby. Another questions why he is making them go so far. Tienba suddenly pulls out a gun and fires a warning shot. He tells them to stop talking and do as he says, or he will kill them himself. In his mind, he thinks that if there is a queen ant, then those moving mines must be exploding soldier ants. He needs to confirm this theory quickly. The two players panic and agree to do it, begging him not to shoot. Tienba yells at them to move. Underground, the ants begin shifting. At first they were just crawling around, but now they are clearly closing in. Xiaoxiu whispers that something is wrong. The ants are getting restless. If Chun Mo has any backup plan, now would be the time to use it. Chun Mo calmly says he does not have a backup plan. He is waiting for rescue. She stares at him and asks if he is crazy. She cannot seriously believe he is counting on Tienba to save them. Even if Tienba comes, they would probably just end up as cannon fodder. The ants move even closer. Then suddenly, system notifications flicker across the ants' bodies. Xiaoxiu panics and says it is over. She says they have been discovered and that she should not have trusted him. One ant lunges forward. She instinctively activates her gravity control to push it back. At that exact moment, boom, a massive explosion shakes the tunnel from above. Chun Mo says it has started. She looks at him in confusion. He tells her to move and get inside the side side passage immediately. She reacts without arguing. Chun Mo explains quickly that someone above just stepped through the ceiling of the tunnel and triggered the soldier ant's position there. Another explosion follows. Then another. The blast spreads through the underground network. Soldier ants detonate one after another. A chain reaction. The tunnels shake violently. Fire and smoke surge through the passages as ant after ant explodes. Above ground, Tienba smirks and mutters that no one should try to outplay him. In his mind, he expects the system to announce a mission clear. But nothing happens. He frowns. There is no system notification. One of his men stares ahead in horror and mutters that something is wrong. Then they all see it. From the cracked, collapsing ground, something enormous begins to rise. As the massive ant boss rises into the air, its body swollen and carrying explosive sacks like bombs, chaos breaks out above. A woman nearby begs for someone to save her. She says she does not want to die. Tienba, however, is furious inside. After an explosion that huge, the boss is still almost unharmed. And that kid underground is probably still alive too. He cannot understand how this is possible. He keeps firing at the monster in the air. The creature screeches and starts firing explosive projectiles back down. One of Tienba's underlings jumps in front of him and raises a shield, shouting for him to watch out. The shield barely holds. The others are not so lucky. Changji, Tienba's other subordinate, gets hit directly. He collapses. Tienba looks at him in shock as Changji weakly says he wants to go home. His voice trembles before he goes still. The other underling cries out his name. Tienba clenches his fists and calls him brother. For a moment, he is genuinely shaken. The remaining underling tells him to get up because it is too dangerous to stay frozen like that. Tienba grits his teeth. He mutters that he has hunted geese all his life, only to be pecked in the eye by one today. It was supposed to be just a D-rank dungeon, yet it already cost him his men. The underling urgently warns him to calm down and not use that skill. But Tienba is beyond reasoning. He roars that he will avenge Changji. His body begins to change. Muscles expand, bones crack, and fur bursts from his skin. He transforms into a massive tiger-like beast. Electric energy crackles around him as he activates his limit break ability, Beast King Possession. He turns to the underling and tells him this fight is not something he can interfere with. He should find somewhere safe and hide. The underling tells him not to die to this monster. Tienba leaps into the air with a roar. He lands on the flying ant boss and starts tearing into it with claws and fangs, ripping at the explosive sacks. Below ground, Xia Xiao hears the deafening noise from above. She asks if they are really just going to sit and watch, waiting for Tienba to get half-killed so they can go up and collect the rewards. Chun Mo shakes his head. If they do that, they will not be any better than him. And this boss is not that easy to kill. As for when to act, he says they should wait a little longer. For now, they watch through cracks in the tunnel as the tiger form Tienba fights desperately, landing heavy blows again and again. But after a while, the tiger's movements start slowing. The ant boss suddenly rises again, barely restrained. It slams into Tienba midair and sends him crashing hard back to the ground. Then the monster spreads its wings wide and starts launching bombs non-stop. Explosive sacks rain down from the air. In seconds, the whole arena is covered in ticking bombs. Tienba, still in his tiger form, dashes across the battlefield, barely dodging one blast after another. Explosions keep erupting behind him, shaking the ground. Through the smoke and chaos, he suddenly spots his last remaining underling running desperately. The guy is screaming for help. One of the bombs is dropping straight toward him. As the underling looks back in horror, Tienba shouts at Tianji to open the shield. But Tianji is too terrified to react in time, so Tienba moves first. He lunges forward and throws up a shield himself, covering both of them just as the bomb detonates. The explosion is massive. The shield forms around them, but the impact is too strong. Cracks spread across it, and within seconds it shatters. Tienba takes most of the blast head-on. He is blown back and forced out of his tiger form, reverting to his normal body. Tianji kneels beside him, panicking and calling him boss, telling him to hang on. Tienba coughs and weakly says that usually Tianji is the one shielding him. This time it was his turn. Tianji starts crying. Above them, the monster is still circling, waiting for another opening. It sees one. The creature dives toward them again. Tienba stares up at it and mutters that maybe this is how it ends. Just as the monster is about to strike, something slams into it from the side. The impact knocks it off course. It is Chun Mo. He bursts out from below and intercepts the attack at the last second. Right behind him, Xia Xiao activates her gravity control, forcing the monster down toward the ground and pinning it for a brief moment. Someone shouts to attack now. Chun Mo does not hesitate. He starts sprinting forward and, mid-run, commands the system to reset his attribute points. In his mind, he decides to go all in. He reallocates everything into strength. His strength value jumps to 35. He leaps and delivers a full power strike straight into the monster. For a split second, the creature does not move. Then it trembles and rises again. The damage barely slowed it down. With a violent flap of its wings, it blasts Chun Mo backward, sending him rolling across the ground. The monster takes to the air once more. Chun Mo feels exhaustion creeping in. That hit cost him everything, and it barely scratched the boss. He realizes its defense is insanely high. Tienba, still on the ground, looks over and calls out, thanking him. Chun Mo just smirks faintly and tosses something toward him. It is a potion. He says he did not expect Tienba to be that loyal and asks him straight up if he wants to team up. Tienba takes the potion and asks Chun Mo to speak clearly about how they are supposed to team up. Chun Mo says they all saw the boss already. It has a massive health pool, and since it can fly, it completely controls the air. If they want any chance of beating it, they first have to bring it down to the ground. Tienba says that is easier said than done because the thing is not easy to handle. He asks what the actual plan is. Nearby, Xiaoxiu is getting more and more anxious while trying to keep the monster restrained. She shouts that they should stop stalling because the boss is about to use its ultimate technique. Right then, the monster begins transforming. Bomb sacks swell across its body, ready to detonate. At the same time, egg-like pods start shooting out in every direction. As the eggs fall, they hatch instantly. Small ants pour out and swarm across the battlefield, quickly surrounding everyone. Chun Mo says he has an idea, but he needs their help first. That is all he will say, and whether they follow the plan or not is up to them. Tienba says the kid is right. At this point, they either kill the boss or everyone dies. Chun Mo starts moving forward. Tienba and his remaining underling follow him as they push ahead together. While running, Chun Mo calls out to the system and resets his attribute points, putting everything into agility. His speed surges, allowing him to weave through the falling bombs. Through the walkie-talkie, Chun Mo tells Tienba and the others to draw the boss's attention while he gets close. Tienba replies that he understands and tells him to just keep moving forward. He smirks and starts transforming again. The underling tries to stop him, saying he cannot use that skill again, but Tienba ignores him. In seconds, he turns back into his tiger form. He says he cannot worry about the consequences now. If he does not take the risk at this moment, there will never be another chance. The monster responds by firing laser-like beams from its wings, causing massive explosions everywhere. While charging forward, Tienba thinks that Chun Mo had better hurry. In this transformed state, his strength and agility increase dramatically, but the price is brutal. His maximum HP is constantly burning away, and eventually it will drop to 1, meaning a single hit could kill him. Meanwhile, Chun Mo focuses on the boss. His biggest advantage is those wings, but at the same time, they are also the most vulnerable part. If that is the case, then he will use that against it. As he rushes closer, a system notification suddenly appears in front of him. It says that copyable code has been detected. Mine Soldier Ant Copy. Chun Mo immediately tries to copy the code. While sprinting through the explosions, he keeps telling the system to copy it. The system keeps responding with the same message, insufficient storage space. Chun Mo realizes the storage is not unlimited after all, but the few he already copied should still be enough to give the boss some trouble. He then looks at Xiaoxiu and asks if she can launch him up there. She says it is too far, but she will try her best. While struggling to hold her gravity field steady under the constant explosions, she gathers her strength and uses her gravity control to sling Chun Mo upward toward the giant queen ant. As Chun Mo rises through the air, he activates his wings of the invisible. Right above the queen, he releases the mine soldier ants he copied. The small ants rush forward and start chewing through the queen's wings. The queen immediately senses something is wrong, but the ants keep tearing at the wings. Chun Mo shouts for everyone to get ready to dodge because he is about to detonate them. A moment later, a massive explosion erupts directly above the queen. Everyone below stares in shock. Then warning signals flash across the boss's bomb sacks. Warning override. Warning override. Another enormous explosion detonates. The shockwave slams into the defensive shield around the players. The barrier starts cracking, barely holding together. Then the queen's massive body drops from the sky and crashes down, triggering yet another blast when it hits the ground. Through the smoke and debris, Tienba, his underling, and Xiaoxiu stare at the fallen boss. For a moment, they can hardly believe it. They ask if that actually did it. As the smoke slowly settles, everyone watches the fallen queen ant carefully. For a moment, they wonder if they actually managed to take it down. Chun Mo immediately warns them not to relax yet, because the system has not given any notification. Tienba agrees and says they should stay alert. They wait. Then something moves inside the queen's body. The massive corpse twitches, and suddenly something bursts out from within it. Another ant-like monster shoots out at incredible speed. Everyone scatters instantly, but it is too fast. In the blink of an eye, the creature darts through the battlefield, striking everyone. Tienba and his underling are knocked down. Xiaoxiu and Chun Mo are also slammed to the ground. Chun Mo realizes that the boss's speed and strength have both increased drastically. He suspects this is the boss's final frenzy phase. Tienba has already reverted back to his human form. His underling shouts for him, but Tienba curses the monster, calling it a freak. Xiaoxiu suddenly warns everyone that it is coming again. The ant monster prepares another high-speed attack. The underling quickly throws up a shield and tells Tienba to watch out, but the creature slices through the shield with a single strike. The barrier shatters instantly, and the underling is hit hard and thrown aside. He cries out before collapsing. The monster immediately shifts its focus to Tienba, who is now almost defenseless. At that moment, Xiaoxiu forces herself back up. She uses her gravity control to grab the monster and try to throw it off balance. She struggles to hold it, but she manages to lift it slightly into the air and shouts that there might still be hope. The monster reacts instantly. It flips midair and slams Xiaoxiu down into the ground. Then it prepares to finish her with another strike. Chun Mo rushes in and pulls her away at the last moment. Xiaoxiu panics and says they are finished this time. The ant monster is already right behind Chun Mo, ready to attack again. Chun Mo grits his teeth. He wonders if a D-rank dungeon is simply too much for them. Then he suddenly remembers something. The items he obtained earlier while exploring. He quickly checks his inventory and sees something called Universal Forest Sprout. The description says that once used, it can instantly summon a dense forest rising from the ground. At this point, Chun Mo decides he has nothing left to lose. He throws the item onto the ground. The moment it touches the soil, roots explode outward. Massive trees burst from the ground in seconds, forming a thick forest that spreads across the battlefield. The sudden transformation catches the monster completely off guard. Chun Mo thinks the monster is just too tough. Even Tienba cannot handle it alone. Meanwhile, the monster begins slicing through the forest Chun Mo created, cutting trees down one after another while trying to locate them. For the moment, though, the forest gives them a place to hide. The monster grows more violent, striking wildly in every direction. Explosions echo across the forest as trees are shattered. Chun Mo, Xiaoxiu, and Tienba crouch down, covering their ears. Tienba curses and says the thing is squealing like a stuck pig. Chun Mo says he only has 2 potions left and tells everyone to share them, half a bottle each. Tienba shakes his head and says that is useless. The beast is already in its 3rd phase, and that is not something someone at Chun Mo's level can handle. He says he does not know how Chun Mo boosted his attributes earlier, but in the end he is still only level 8. Chun Mo knows Tienba's words are harsh, but they are true. Still, they cannot just sit there waiting to die. Tienba then tells Chun Mo he probably will not make it out of here. He proposes a deal. He says he can help Chun Mo level up, but Chun Mo has to promise that once he gets out alive, he will help take care of Tienba's brothers outside. Chun Mo asks if there is really such an item that can instantly level someone up. He also points out that promises are easy to make but hard to enforce. Tienba replies that he has plenty of brothers outside. If Chun Mo tricks him, those people will hunt him down and chop him to pieces. Then he explains his plan. Chun Mo just needs to take him down. Killing him will give Chun Mo at least 3 to 5 levels. Right then, a system notification suddenly appears. It displays a wanted notice. Name Zhang Tienba. Level 16. Clears 5. Bounty 200,000. The notice says that eliminating the target grants a bonus equal to 30% of the target's experience and ownership of all items the target carries. Xiaoxiu stares at the notification in shock. Tienba's underling immediately panics and begs him not to do this. He says there must be another way. Tienba calmly replies that this is the only way. He tells the underling that once he gets out, he should make sure the brothers receive their wages in full. The underling breaks down crying. He says it is his fault because he is too weak and held everyone back. If anyone has to die, it should be him. Tienba cuts him off. He hands his gun to Chun Mo and tells him to stop wasting time. He tells Chun Mo to do it quickly and stop dragging it out. Chun Mo notices something and thinks about Tienba's red name. The system clearly marks him as a wanted target. But before Chun Mo can react, the underling breaks down completely. He cries and begs Chun Mo not to kill his boss. He tells him not to be fooled by the red name because says Tienba is not the kind of person the system makes him look like. The underling explains that earlier, when Tienba talked about being tough and fearless, most of it was just boasting. He says they are actually just a group of construction workers. They followed Tienba to the city hoping to find work, but the entire industry suddenly switched to AI robots. Overnight, all of them lost their jobs. With no way to survive, they came to this deadly game hoping to turn their situation around. The underling keeps pleading, saying all the brothers outside are depending on Tienba. Without him, they have nothing. He continues begging Chun Mo not to pull the trigger while sobbing uncontrollably. After hearing everything, Xia Xiu starts thinking about her own situation. She realizes their story is not that different from hers. The only difference, she thinks, is that she met the wrong people. Back when she was a virtual streamer, she had millions of fans at her peak. Life was going well for her. But when AI rose to dominance, virtual streamers became almost indistinguishable from real people. Those AI streamers could work 24 hours a day without rest. Even when she managed to come up with new ideas, the AI would quickly learn them, imitate them, and surpass them. Eventually, she hit a dead end. She had no money left. She could barely maintain a basic life. When she tried switching to low-barrier manual labor jobs, she discovered those had already been taken over by cheaper AI machines. She remembers how even someone she once trusted betrayed her. That person had told her that she should forgive them because they had to win. After all, that is what the game is about. Take someone else out before they take you out. Xia Xiu remembers how the person she teamed up with stabbed her in the back. Luckily, she was the one who survived in the end. She always thought this game was full of lunatics, but now she realizes there are still people willing to give their lives for those around them. Even someone as strong as Tienba still holds onto his principles instead of turning into a monster that only knows how to kill. For the first time, she thinks maybe she can try trusting someone again. Just then, the monster shrieks nearby. Everyone realizes they are running out of time. Tienba urgently tells Chun Mo that there is no time left. He says Chun Mo must do it now. Take him out, level up, and get everyone else out alive. Chun Mo promises that he will keep his word. The underling desperately tries to stop it, but Tienba simply thanks Chun Mo. A gunshot echoes. The underling screams for his boss. At that moment, a system notification appears. It announces that Chun Mo has completed the bounty mission and eliminated the target, D-rank player Zhang Tienba. Chun Mo receives 30% of the target's experience points along with all items from his inventory. His level jumps from 8 to 11. The system also grants him 30 distributable attribute points. His stats update as follows. Strength increases from 14 to 20. Agility increases from 10 to 16. Intelligence increases from 8 to 14. Stamina increases from 8 to 14. Then another system notification appears. It announces that Chun Mo has surpassed level 10. The system version begins updating. Another notification appears. Says the update is complete. Version 2.0 is now active. The host can now control personal attributes and summon attributes, and can swap attributes between himself and his summons. After seeing the new ability, Chun Mo thinks this is a pleasant surprise. He quickly prepares himself and decides that now it is time for his counterattack. He tells the others it is urgent. He will draw the boss's attention first, and when he gives the signal, they must use their combo skills to restrain it. Xia Xiu immediately questions this. She says the boss is far too strong and her gravity control is not at a high enough level to restrain it. The underling also says his shield only protects himself and cannot hurt the boss at all. Chun Mo tells them there is no time to explain. They just need to follow his lead because this is their last chance. He tells them to give it everything they have. Both of them agree. Chun Mo then announces that Operation Decapitation begins. They start moving immediately. The monster soon notices them and prepares another attack. Chun Mo suddenly shouts for them to move. The monster leaps forward while they scatter to avoid it. At that moment, the underling lands directly on top of the monster. Chun Mo calls out to him and launches him upward using his flying ability. He then tells Xia Xiu to hold steady. She focuses all her power and uses gravity control to restrain the monster, while the underling activates his earth shield to anchor himself on its body. Chun Mo then tells Xia Xiu to put all her weight onto the underling. She does exactly that. Chun Mo shouts for her to give it everything. Xia Xiu pushes her ability to the limit, screaming as she pours all her power into the gravity field. The ant monster struggles desperately to resist, but the pressure keeps increasing. Eventually, the gravity overwhelms it. The monster loses control and is slammed straight down into the ground. Chun Mo praises them for the perfect perfect setup. Then he releases his next move. He summons the gluttonous serpent. The giant snake opens its jaws wide, preparing to bite. The snake immediately lunges forward and bites the ant monster while it is pinned to the ground. But the queen ant's skin is unbelievably tough. Chun Mo watches closely and realizes the damage is still not enough. He thinks the gluttonous serpent's current attributes simply are not strong enough to crush the queen ant. Without hesitating, he orders the system to transfer all of his attributes to the gluttonous serpent. The moment the transfer happens, the serpent's power surges. Its body swells with strength, and its jaws clamp down again with far greater force. This time the bite breaks through. With a violent crunch, the serpent finally crushes the queen ant. A system notification immediately appears. It announces that players Chun Mo, Xiaoxiu, and Shuxian have successfully cleared the D-rank dungeon Heavenly Thunder, Earthly Fire, and that rewards are being distributed. Xiaoxiu is still holding the gravity field when she hears the announcement. She can barely believe it and wonders if they really cleared it. Then another loud blast echoes as the dungeon begins collapsing. A new notification appears saying that all players will be forcibly teleported out in 5 minutes. At that moment, it finally sinks in for everyone. They actually cleared the dungeon. Xiaoxiu starts cheering and jumping around, celebrating that they survived. Meanwhile, the underling remembers Tienba and the sacrifice he made. He breaks down crying and says that they really did it and that they are finally getting out alive. Chun Mo quietly thinks that it is finally over and that at least the outcome turned out well. As he descends back to the ground, he reflects that a D-rank dungeon truly cannot be compared to the lower level ones. Then another system notification appears. It says residual data has been detected and can be replicated. The source is Zhang Tienba. Chun Mo is surprised. He wonders how the system can copy Tienba's data. Without wasting time, he chooses to copy it. The system confirms that the fragmented data has been successfully copied. It lists the data code as Zhang Tienba and says the current stored fragments are 3 out of 5. Chun Mo asks the system if the data can be repaired. The system replies that only data personally destroyed by the host can be copied directly. All other data that existed before death is temporarily stored in the recycle bin. To fully repair the data, Chun Mo would need to retrieve the original files from the recycle bin. Chun Mo thinks he might have discovered a way to bring people back to life inside the game world, but he quickly realizes that was just wishful thinking. The recycle bin belongs to the AI brain's core database. Any attempt to access it would trigger the highest level firewall. At his current stage, the fragment of data he copied is basically useless. It is no different from junk. Still, he thinks there might be a small silver lining. Since Zhang Tianba's data was not completely deleted, there is a chance the helmet might not execute him in the real world. If Chun Mo can somehow retrieve the missing data fragments in the future, Tienba might even wake up again. After thinking about it for a moment, Chun Mo asks the system to retrieve the participant information from the previous session. The panel immediately appears in front of him, showing the player records. He scans through it and suddenly finds what he was looking for. His sister really did participate in that session. Behind him, Xiaoxiu mentions a name. She says Jean Cancan. Chun Mo immediately reacts because that was the name of the girl she talked about earlier. Xiaoxiu begins explaining what happened in that match. She says the game was called Spot the Difference. The rule was to find the boss's weakness without making eye contact with it. If anyone looked directly into the boss's eyes, they would immediately be petrified. She suddenly remembers what the boss was. It was Medusa. The moment Medusa's petrification ray hit someone's eyes, it was over. Everyone in that session panicked. They tried everything they could, but the boss was overwhelming. Only after making heavy sacrifices did they finally discover the boss's weakness, its eyes. If someone could hit Medusa's eyes directly, it would deal massive damage. But the problem was obvious. No one could aim properly while keeping their eyes closed. Then Jean Cancan appeared. Xiaoxiu remembers the moment clearly. Jean Cancan walked in and casually complained about how noisy everything was. Then she calmly raised her gun and aimed at the Medusa. The boss instantly noticed her and fired its petrification beam. But Jean Cancan dodged the attack effortlessly. Without hesitation, she pulled the trigger. The shot went straight into Medusa's eyes. The monster was destroyed instantly. Xiaoxiu says Jean Cancan stood there afterward like it was nothing. Back in the present, Chun Mo finally understands what happened. Xiaoxiu says she was lucky to be matched with that girl in the previous session. She admits that Jean Cancan was ridiculously strong. In fact, She says the girl might even be stronger than Chun Mo. That moment left a very deep impression on her. After hearing all of this, Chun Mo starts thinking carefully. He realizes that if Jean Kankan's combat power was that far beyond everyone else, then her level must be extremely high. But something does not make sense. That dungeon Xia Xiu described was only D rank. For someone that strong, there would be almost no profit in joining such a low-level game. He begins wondering if he might have misunderstood something. Then he remembers the stream replay he saw earlier. The person who killed the boss in the footage was a pink-haired girl. Her face was never shown clearly, but based on Xia Xiu's description, it had to be Jean Kankan. Then another detail suddenly bothers him. During the entire stream, there was not a single clear shot of her face. That is extremely unusual. He starts suspecting that the streaming platform might be intentionally hiding her identity. Chun Mo immediately asks the system to pull up all the footage related to Jean Kankan from that stream. The system quickly retrieves the recordings. Chun Mo watches them carefully. As the footage plays, something catches his attention. Standing beside Jean Kankan in several scenes is another person. Chun Mo freezes for a moment when he notices him. He stares at the screen and wonders who the man next to Kankan could be. Xia Xiu says yes, that is the guy. She says he was the annoying one who kept sticking to Jean Kankan the whole time. Because of him, she never even got a clear look at the girl's level. She says he looked like some kind of bodyguard. He stayed beside Jean Kankan the entire time and would not let anyone get close. She complains that she never even got the chance to latch onto a strong carry. After hearing that, Chun Mo thinks it actually makes sense. If that is true, then Jean Kankan might have been under someone's control. He begins wondering who that man is and what kind of organization he belongs to. Just then, a system notification appears saying the instance will close in 3 minutes. Chun Mo quickly grabs Xia Xiu and asks her to think carefully again. He asks if she remembers any other details about the man, his name, or whether anyone else was with him. Xia Xiu tries to remember but struggles. Before she can finish, the underling suddenly says something. He remembers the man had heterochromia, one red eye and one blue eye. He wonders if that person could be Lu Chenza. Xia Xiu immediately reacts and says that name does sound familiar. She asks if he met that guy before. The underling says he remembers seeing him once at the black market. At that time, he had gone there with Tienba to buy a hidden red name item. He recalls the scene clearly. Tienba had argued with someone, saying they had already agreed earlier and that the item belonged to him. But another man suddenly appeared and calmly said he was taking the tracker. Tienba got angry and complained that people these days had no sense of rules anymore. Then he turned around and noticed that man standing right behind him. The man looked terrifying. The man asked if Tienba had a problem with that. Tienba immediately backed down and said he had no problem at all before quickly leaving. Afterward, the underling warned Tienba to just let it go unless he wanted to shorten his own lifespan. He said that man was not someone they could afford to provoke. Even now, he still remembers those eyes. Locking eyes with that man felt like staring into a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Even Tienba admitted that the man was ruthless and that it was best not to get involved with someone like him. Chun Mo silently repeats the name Lu Chenza in his mind. He decides he will remember it. If that man ever stands in the way of him finding his sister, then no matter who he is, even if he were King Yama himself, Chun Mo will cut him down. At that moment, the system begins the final countdown. The instance is about to close. As the countdown continues, Tienba's underling says he will leave first because he needs to bring the news of Tienba's death back to the others. He tells Chun Mo that if he ever needs help in the future, he only needs to say the word. Xia Xiu also says she is heading out. She jokingly tells Chun Mo that if he needs anything later, he can come find her. Chun Mo tells the underling that Zhang Tienba might not actually be dead yet. He asks him to take good care of him because maybe a miracle could still happen someday. The underling is completely shocked when he hears that. He turns around in disbelief and asks what Chun Mo means. Before he can ask anything else, the teleportation takes him away. In another place, a girl suddenly sits upright, snapping the restraints that were holding her down. The movement shocks everyone around her. A butler quickly approaches and calmly says that Miss is finally awake. He congratulates her, saying she once again completed the mission perfectly. The higher-ups are extremely satisfied with her performance. He adds that, based on the calculations, her debt has now been reduced to 1/3 of its original amount. The girl cuts him off and tells him to stop with the nonsense. She asks him to just say what the next mission is. Almost immediately after speaking, she vanishes from the spot and starts walking away, leaving the others stunned. The butler comments that Miss Jean is as straightforward as ever. He then explains that there is indeed a new mission from above. She is required required to participate in a B-rank mission and eliminate an A-rank player. The target has offended the higher-ups and is also carrying something he should not possess. Those items must not be allowed to spread. The butler warns her that if she fails the mission, the device attached to her will detonate and destroy her face. He remarks that it would be a shame, considering she has what he calls an S-rank face. The girl simply says she understands. She tells him to inform the higher-ups that she will complete the mission, and she hopes they will keep their promise and not interfere with her brother's life. The door closes behind her. As she walks away, she thinks about her brother. She wonders how that idiot big brother of hers is doing without her around to take care of him. She admits to herself that she really wants to see him again, but she quickly stops herself from thinking about it. She reminds herself that once she finishes paying off the debt, the people controlling her will stop persecuting him. When that day finally comes, they will be able to live peacefully together again. For that future, she tells herself she has to keep pushing forward. Back in the game, a system message announces that the instance has officially closed. Chun Mo immediately begins thinking about something. He realizes that once an instance closes, its data is stored in the recycle bin for secondary use. He decides to try copying the Queen Ant's data, but the system immediately returns a failure. Chun Mo is surprised. He wonders if it failed because the boss was destroyed too completely. Just then, he hears a strange voice nearby complaining loudly. The voice grumbles about finally getting out and says it almost suffocated in there. It complains that every day is like this and that the work is exhausting. The voice keeps ranting about how its waist and back are killing it after the shift and wonders when it will finally get transferred to an easier position. Chun Mo follows the sound and finds the source. It is the ant administrator. Chun Mo immediately says that now it makes sense why he did not see the administrator leave earlier. He points out that the admin must have been hiding there the whole time and that it was probably controlling the boss earlier. The ant admin is startled when it hears him, curses in shock, and asks why Chun Mo is still there instead of leaving. A system notification appears. It announces that player Chun Mo has successfully cleared the dungeon Heavenly Thunder, Earthly Fire. By defeating the Queen Ant, he has earned the MVP title. The rewards are listed immediately. A C-rank weapon called Void Blade, a C-rank skill called Camouflage, and one random item draw ticket. All rewards have already been sent to his inventory. The Ant Administrator tells Chun Mo that the rewards have been delivered, and that he should hurry up and leave instead of disturbing the system's rest. But Chun Mo clearly has something else in mind. He snaps his fingers. A huge serpent suddenly appears behind him. Chun Mo calmly says it is not time to leave yet because he plans to devour the administrator first. He adds that he thought he would be leaving empty-handed this time, but the admin conveniently showed up on its own. The ant administrator panics immediately. It screams that such a thing should be impossible. As an NPC protected by the system, it should not be able to be harmed by a player. Then it realizes what is actually happening. Chun Mo is not attacking its body. He is devouring its data. The administrator starts begging desperately. It says it does not want to be devoured yet and asks Chun Mo to spare it. It offers to submit to him as its master. Quickly adds that if they work together, they could achieve great things and reach incredible heights. Chun Mo watches the tiny ant trembling in fear. He admits to himself that the creature is actually quite clever. Devouring it would grant him a small amount of AI brain authority, but keeping it around as a helper might be even more useful. Chun Mo grabs the little administrator and asks how it plans to guarantee that it will not betray him. The ant immediately explains that it has already thought about that. It says it can merge with Chun Mo's system. If that happens, they will essentially become one entity, meaning it will have to obey his commands completely. It even promises to format and erase its previous memories, so they will not interfere with Chun Mo's system. Chun Mo considers it for a moment and says the proposal sounds acceptable. Still, he warns the ant not to have any hidden ideas. If it tries anything, devouring it would only take a second. The ant immediately swears it would never dare betray him. Chun Mo finally agrees and tells it to begin. The ant cheerfully responds that following him clearly offers a much brighter future. A new system alert suddenly appears. It says a new module is requesting fusion. The system performs a scan and reports that the module is safe. It asks Chun Mo whether he agrees to proceed with the fusion. As Chun Mo prepares to confirm the fusion, the ant administrator quietly says that it can already feel the process beginning. Chun Mo feels the change immediately. In his mind, he thinks he can feel the fusion happening too. The system begins the model fusion process. Inside the merging module, the ant administrator feels its data being rewritten. It senses its body being transformed by Chun Mo's system authority. The transformation continues until the system finally announces that the model fusion is complete. After the process finishes, the newly fused module speaks again and asks if Chun Mo now believes it has no ill intentions. Chun Mo calmly tells it that is enough and orders it to return. A new notification appears right away. It congratulates the host for obtaining a summoned beast, Queen Ant. The system also reports that Chun Mo now has 2 summons in total, with 2 remaining inventory slots. It adds that further system upgrades will unlock additional summon storage slots. Chun Mo decides it is finally time to leave. As he prepares to log off, he thinks that he is getting closer and closer to finding her. Elsewhere, inside a large broadcasting studio, an announcement rings out. The host greets the audience and welcomes them to the evening program. He proudly introduces a veteran game critic named Master Lee and asks the audience to welcome him. Master Lee thanks the audience and greets everyone. The host asks him for his evaluation of the dungeon they just watched. Master Lee says that, to be fair, the performance was quite good and actually exceeded his expectations. He admits he did not expect 3 players to successfully clear that dungeon. He explains that, based on his many years of observation, D-rank dungeons are among the most dangerous stages, second only to A-rank dungeons. The host reacts with surprise and asks if that means Master Lee believes the difficulty of D-rank dungeons is on the same level as A-rank ones. Master Lee chuckles and clarifies that they are not exactly the same. He explains that players who enter D-rank dungeons are usually people who have just survived several earlier games. At that stage, many players begin to feel confident and even arrogant. That state of mind makes it much easier for them to make fatal mistakes. Because of this, the death rate in D-rank dungeons has always remained extremely high. The host then asks Master Lee to give a score to the team that cleared the dungeon. Master Lee says he would at least give them a passing grade. However, he explains that the score is not really for the team itself. It is for the commander. He points out that the more dangerous the situation becomes, the more important a capable commander is. He says that the young woman who led that match has already begun to show the qualities of a true commander. Another person in the studio says he already knew that Kid was special, but he did not expect him to be this strong. He says the Kid is definitely qualified to join Pajin. Someone else agrees and says there should be no problem with that. Then he turns to Fei Yong and asks what she thinks. Fei Yong says she disagrees. She explains that she does not doubt the Kid's strength. However, everyone saw what happened in the final moment. In the end, he leveled up by killing the red name player on his own team and completely turned the tide of the battle. She says she cannot trust someone who relies on such unscrupulous methods, and she definitely would not feel safe leaving her back to someone like that. After hearing her opinion, the others fall silent. One of them suggests they should observe him for a little longer before making a decision. Another agrees and says Fei Yong has a point. Still, they should keep a close eye on him because good talent like that is extremely rare. Fei Yong agrees with that idea and says they should monitor him closely. The next morning arrives. Chun Mo wakes up and sees that he has a phone call coming in. He wonders who could be calling so early. Then he notices the time and realizes it is already 1:00 p.m. He remembers that after leaving the game last night, he went straight to sleep and completely passed out. He answers the call and greets the caller. The voice on the other side excitedly introduces himself as Shu Tian. He quickly tells Chun Mo some incredible news. Zhang Tienba is still alive. They do not know when he will wake up, but his life has been saved. Shu Tian says he will not say anything else, but from now on Chun Mo is his real brother. If Chun Mo ever needs anything, he only has to say the word, and Shu Tian will go through fire and water for him without hesitation. After ending the call, Chun Mo starts thinking. He still has some time before his next game begins. If he wants more information about the people and forces inside this world, the best place to start would be the black market that Shu Tian mentioned. Chun Mo calls Shu Tian again and tells him to take him there. Shu Tian agrees immediately and says he will send the location so they can meet there later. After that, Chun Mo begins dialing another number. He thinks he might as well contact her too, because he still needs the information she has so he can cross-check everything. Later, Shu Tian waves from a distance and calls out for Chun Mo to come over. Chun Mo walks closer and asks who he is. Shu Tian looks confused and asks if Chun Mo really does not recognize him. He says it is him, Shu Tian, and jokes that maybe Chun Mo cannot recognize him because he is not wearing his hat. Chun Mo realizes who it is and greets him properly, calling him Mr. Shu. Shu Tian immediately tells him not to be so formal and says Chun Mo should just call him Shu Tian. Chun Mo then notices the girl standing nearby and says that she must be Xiaoxiu. She quickly hushes him and tells him not to shout names out loud in a place like this because it can be dangerous. Chun Mo comments that the two of them look quite different from their in-game avatars. Shu Tian laughs awkwardly and says the in-game appearance was mostly just for show. Xiaoxiu adds that if they looked the same as their avatars in real life, it would actually be very dangerous. Shu Tian agrees and says it is always better to stay cautious in a place like this. Chun Mo nods. Just then, a man steps out and loudly calls to them like a restaurant host. He invites them inside and advertises their signature dishes, mentioning white-cut chicken and Sichuan spicy chicken. Shu Tian immediately lowers his voice and explains the code to Chun Mo. He says the man is a local kingpin in the black market who specializes in selling information, but he only deals with insiders. White-cut chicken refers to legitimate information, while Sichuan spicy chicken refers to underground or illegal information. Chun Mo says he understands and tells Shu Tian to handle it. Shu Tian walks up to the man and says he brought friends today specifically to try the cooking. He adds that the white-cut chicken is too plain and that they definitely want the Sichuan spicy chicken. The man asks if they want this week's batch or the aged one. Shu Tian confidently says that if they are eating, they will eat the expensive kind. He tells the man that money is not an issue and that they want the aged one portion each. The man laughs and praises their straightforward attitude. He tells them honored guests like them deserve a private room upstairs. He says someone will guide them up and the food will be served shortly. However, as they start heading inside, the man suddenly stops them and says he recognizes Shu Tian, but Chun Mo and Xiaoxiu look like fresh faces. Shu Tian explains that he is only acting as the middleman and that the real employer is Chun Mo. The kingpin looks Chun Mo over carefully. After a moment, he says that since a middleman is involved, it does not count as breaking the rules, so they can follow him. As they walk deeper inside, the kingpin makes one thing very clear. If anything goes wrong, Shu Tian will be the one responsible. Shu Tian immediately agrees. Xiaoxiu complains that the two of them keep speaking in riddles and asks if they can say something normal that people can actually understand. Shu Tian starts explaining that the boss means, but the kingpin interrupts with a cough and clarifies things himself. He tells them not to look at things they should not look at, not to ask questions they should not ask, and definitely not to go looking for trouble. Shu Tian assures him they understand the rules. The kingpin then leads them further underground. As they walk through the black market, voices echo everywhere. One vendor loudly advertises fresh intelligence about a D-rank instance called Hide and Seek, claiming it is first-hand information and first come, first served. Another vendor shouts about a C-rank weapon called the Demon's Link Sword that is on limited time sale. Chun Mo quietly observes everything and realizes this place truly is the black market. Nearby, a group of thugs starts threatening someone who apparently has not paid a protection fee, but still dared to do business on Lord Luo's territory. At the same time, a few women approach and flirt with customers, inviting handsome newcomers to spend some time with them. The chaotic atmosphere makes Xiaoxiu nervous. She instinctively grabs Chun Mo's arm. The kingpin notices and tells her not to be nervous. He explains that this is simply how the black market works. The rules of the outside world do not apply here. In this place, as long as someone has money, they can buy almost anything. However, money alone is not enough. A person also needs strength because to the people here, anyone without power is just a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Chun Mo asks if the black market has always been like this. Shu Tian confirms that it has. He explains that the black market is a true melting pot and a completely lawless zone. Even government officials have to show respect when they come here. Chun Mo asks what he means by that. Shu Tian leans closer and lowers his voice. He tells Chun Mo about the 10 Yama Kings. They are the leaders of the 10 largest organizations in the black market. Rumor says every one of them is extremely powerful and deeply connected. The kingpin smirks and tells Shu Tian that the kid seems to know quite a lot. Then he turns around and tells them they will stop here. He explains that in this place, they can get answers to anything they want, but first they must prove their worth. Only after showing they are qualified will Lord Luo allow them to receive the information. As he finishes speaking, he presses a button. Suddenly, a massive block of iron drops down around them, sealing them inside like a cage. The kingpin calmly tells them they only have 1 minute. If they solve the puzzle inside the box, they will walk out with the answers they came for. If they fail, they will die in there. Shu Tian immediately starts kicking the metal walls and shouting angrily. He curses forces the kingpin and yells for him to open the box right now, threatening revenge once he gets out. The kingpin simply laughs. He tells Shu Tian to save his breath because the walls are made of titanium alloy. There is no way they can break them. Shu Tian becomes even more frustrated and realizes he has been set up. Meanwhile, Xia Xiu notices something strange on the wall of the metal chamber. She calls the others over and points to a string of garbled symbols. She says it looks like some kind of problem and asks if anyone can understand it. Chun Mo studies the symbols for a moment. He immediately recognizes it as a sequence equation. As he looks at it, another thought crosses his mind. These people must already know who he is. That is why they are using this specific kind of puzzle to test him. Shu Tian looks at Chun Mo and asks if he can figure it out. Chun Mo calmly says he will try. Shu Tian immediately tells him to do his best because all of their lives are depending on him. Meanwhile, Xia Xiu and Shu Tian are both panicking. They keep glancing at Chun Mo and whispering nervously, wondering if anyone even understands what he is doing. Shu Tian grows more and more frustrated and shouts that he is such an idiot for getting them into this situation. He says there is no way even a genius could solve something like this in such a short time. Xia Xiu starts regretting coming along. She complains that she never should have gotten involved in this mess and now she is going to lose her life because of it. Outside the chamber, the kingpin watches through the monitor. He laughs and says that Lord Luo must be overestimating this kid. Even the strongest math geniuses in the black market need pen and paper to solve problems like this. But Chun Mo is just standing there staring at the wall, probably frozen by the sheer scale of the calculations. Inside the chamber, however, Chun Mo is calmly analyzing the numbers. In his mind, he keeps track of the remaining time while examining the sequence. At first glance, the numbers look chaotic, but he quickly notices a hidden structure. The sum of every group of 3 numbers is actually the same. Then he realizes that if he takes one number every 2 digits, the sequence forms 3 separate arithmetic progressions. Once he identifies the pattern, the calculation becomes much simpler. Chun Mo quietly thinks that using a problem of this level to test him is seriously underestimating him. Just as the timer is about to run out, he announces the answer. He states that the solution is 52914. At the exact moment the countdown reaches 1, the chamber opens with a loud boom. Dust and smoke fill the air as the metal walls retract. Chun Mo calmly walks out. The kingpin is completely stunned and keeps repeating in shock that this is unbelievable. At that moment, another group arrives from above. Their leader watches Chun Mo carefully and comments that the kid is interesting. One of the people beside him questions whether Chun Mo is really so capable that Lord Luo values him that much. Another person says that since Lord Luo gave the order, they only need to follow it. From what he can see, Chun Mo is definitely not an ordinary person. Someone else dismisses Chun Mo as nothing more than an ant who has not even reached C rank yet. Lord Luo immediately tells them to stop talking. He says he has bigger plans for this kid. Then he tells them to come with him because it is time to meet Chun Mo. They all leap down from the bridge above. When Lord Luo lands in front of Chun Mo, he calmly says that Chun Mo is exactly what he expected from the former chief AI engineer of the Haiyan group. Chun Mo looks at the man and feels an overwhelming presence coming from him. He wonders who this person is. Then Chun Mo asks him directly how he knows him. Luo Tian walks straight up to Chun Mo and suddenly grabs him by the shoulder. He says he has heard a lot about Engineer Chun. He then lists Chun Mo's identity openly. Chun Mo, former chief AI engineer of the Huanyu group, one of the top talents in the AI industry. Luo Tian says that without Chun Mo, the Huanyu group would never have become what it is today, and the gold game itself might not even exist. He adds that it is no wonder Chun Mo managed to develop such a shocking ability, the ability to bring back people who died in the game. Hearing this shocks Chun Mo. He immediately clenches his fist, preparing to react. At that moment, Shu Tian rushes in nervously and tries to stop the situation from escalating. He hurriedly says they have not broken any rules and reminds Luo Tian about the code of the underworld, insisting that Luo Tian cannot just do whatever he wants. Then Shu Tian quietly whispers to Chun Mo. He tells him that the man in front of them is Luo Tian, one of the 10 Yama kings. The people standing with him are also extremely dangerous figures. Since they are currently on Luo Tian's territory, it would be best not to provoke them. Shu Tian admits that this is his first time seeing someone like Luo Tian in person. Even standing near him feels oppressive, almost like facing a C-rank player. Chun Mo silently wonders about that. He begins thinking whether a player's game rank could actually affect the aura they give off in the real world. Meanwhile, Luo Tian laughs at Shu Tian's mention of rules. He says that talking about rules to him takes some courage. In this place, he says his word is the law. As he says that, several powerful men step forward and surround them. Xia Xiu quickly tells Shu Tian to shut up before he gets them all killed. Chun Mo stays calm and speaks directly to Luo Tian. He says Luo Tian went through a lot of effort to bring them here, so he assumes this was not just to show off his power. Luo Tian bursts into laughter. He says Chun Mo is indeed clever and that he enjoys dealing with smart people. Then he proposes a deal. He shows Chun Mo an item and says it contains something Chun Mo wants. However, he makes it clear that it will not be given away for free. Chun Mo asks what Luo Tian wants in return. Luo Tian smirks and gives his condition. Chun Mo has 1 week. If Chun Mo can reach C rank within a week, he can come back and meet Luo Tian again. At that time, Chun Mo must trade his resurrection method in exchange for the information. If he fails, then there will be nothing left to talk about. Luo Tian laughs wildly after saying this. Chun Mo, Shu Tian, and Xia Xiu all stare at him, feeling the terrifying pressure coming from him. If you don't want to miss the next exciting part of the story, then subscribe right now and turn on all the notifications.